Want to grow on TikTok? Join our agency for support with expert mentoring, stream protection, and audience growth. It's time to level up. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to join today.
Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out with boxer, promoter Benn. Shalom. Benn, good to see you. How's Liverpool?
It's great to be here. Obviously, I only live down the road. So I love Liverpool. We've had some great nights here with Beefy and with Natasha Jonas. And great to be back ahead of a big night on Saturday night. I can feel it. I'm excited for it. I love the aggression there of Efe Ajagba. I love the upset. I love the emotion. It's got me very excited for the main event. Lauren Price in a 7-0, 7-0. Don't know much about Bexing Mateus. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing Natasha under the bright lights in another unification.
Amazon had a few words for you, Ben.
She did, and look, I respect it, and fair enough. I think there's been a lot of talk around Lauren and Natasha. I think that's the fight that British fans want to see. I think it could be the biggest British, I want to be careful here, but maybe the biggest British female fight of all time. I think Lauren Price, Natasha Jonas is the fight, but rightfully so. Habazan's worked hard to come to this position. She's a world champion in her own right. I remember speaking to her manager, Charles Muniz, about this fight for a long time. This was the fight that they wanted. They believe Natasha's on the decline and this is their moment to become the unified world champion. And, they've been over here for 4 weeks, and that's always a good sign with the main event. Over here for 4 weeks, training in Bolton, training in the Amir Khan gym up there. I know it's not been easy for them, but I liked it and I agree with it. I think, ultimately this is a big main event. This is a big unification. So be looking at anything else is wrong. But ultimately it is a collision course. If Efe Ajagba wins on Saturday night, I promise you now, she'll be the one fighting Lauren Price. And that's what makes it so exciting on Saturday night. There's a lot of ego up there. There's 3 world champions. They all want to be prioritised. Natasha is the queen. Lauren Price is the gold medalist coming through. Efe Ajagba has been around the block and is a world champion in her own right. The only way we could keep everyone happy was by creating a collision course where everyone has to fight everyone. You can't really complain. You know what's on there. You know what you have to do to win. They all know what the score is. And credit to Habazan for sticking on me, because she's here not to make up the numbers. She's here to come and win a fight on Saturday night.
McKenna versus Cutler, no love lost between the two of them. Close fight on paper. Who do you think comes out with victory?
It's another awkward one because I get on with both of them and we promoted their last fights. I think Stephen McKenna is one of the best records in boxing. He's so exciting. I know exactly what he's going to do. So does Lee Cutler. Lee's done really well in his past 2 fights, especially in that super welterweight division, to bring himself back into contention, and he's looked really good doing it. And now he's in the McGuigan gym. They've accepted this fight. If I'm honest, not many people want to get in the ring with Stephen McKenna. I promise you he's one of the hardest fighters to make fights for at that division. Lee Cutler's taken it because they see vulnerabilities in his game, and they see vulnerabilities that they can exploit, and they believe that they're all wrong for Stephen McKenna. And that's what makes this a great fight. Stevie's probably the slight favourite with the bookies, but it was war. It was an absolute war against Joe Laws, and Lee Cutler will believe that he beats Joe Laws. It's just a great fight. Personalities clash. Let's see what happens.
Small elephant in the room. Let's get through it. Liam Smith, I did see you shake hands with him. Have you got a fight for him, maybe? Eubank Jr.?
Listen, as Liam says, it's 1-1. I still think there's unfinished business there. But it depends on what happens with Eubank next. I think for me, it's Lara or Benn next. I'd like to see Liam back in the ring because I think I was looking forward to that Josh Kelly fight. I thought it would have been perfect for him. I thought it would have got him back on, and obviously he's had his own injury frustrations, but I wish him nothing but the best, and it's genuinely good to see him. Obviously, we're promoting Frankie Stringer now. He manages Frankie Stringer, so that's interesting. But yeah, I'm glad to see him here, and hopefully he'll be out soon.
Caroline Dubois now elevated to full WBC champion. Your reaction?
Just over the moon. It's delighted. It's like, it's been a long road. I know that sounds crazy given that she's 23 years old, but we should have fought for that title 18 months ago. How can you have a title dormant for nearly 2 years? One of the most prestigious titles. And as I say, I'm not blaming Maurizio, I'm not blaming whatever, but at all. But ultimately, Katie Taylor was never going to fight at 135 again, and it was held up as long as possible. It's been frustrating. That WBC belt, every fighter dreams, particularly Caroline, of winning that belt. So I'm very thankful to the WBC and Maurizio for giving her a moment. It's very hard with Caroline Dubois, with Lauren Price, without that world title. It's very hard to demand the fights that you want. Because it's almost like, well, what are you bringing to the table? That's why we invested so much in the Lauren Price fight with Jessica McCaskill. She had her big night, and we needed Caroline Dubois, and she deserved to become world champion. And now there's some unbelievable fights for her in that. 23 years old. We'd like to make the Terry Harper fight next. We'd then like to make the Ferreira fight. We want to clean up that division, and she's so young. She's got so much going for her. I feel like this is the start of her career, and she's a special talent. And with, as said up there, with Natasha Jonas and Savannah Marshall and Katie Taylor coming towards the end, for women's boxing to thrive and survive the way it's been doing, we've got to see Lauren Price and Caroline Dubois, for me, the top two coming through, the two that can really fly the flag, the two that can become superstars in their own right. So special day for us, special day for Caroline, special day for our business, and to see another world champion crowned, it's great for British boxing.
Off the back of Adelaide's resounding victory over Sol Dakers, would you be interested in making Adelaide versus Fraser Clark?
Yes. I did speak to George Warren about that fight a couple of weeks ago. He expressed interest in it also. For me, I would like to see, Fraser may have other ideas. I want to see him back March, April. I want to see him healthy. I want to make sure everything's fine. And that's not saying anything, but, you know, it was a first round knockout. I want to see him back in a big way, make a big statement, and then it's straight into hopefully that fight. I love the Johnny Fisher fight as well. I think it's a great fight for Fraser. But let's get him back. And yeah, I did speak to him last week. It's phenomenal, the recovery he's made. And back in the gym, January the 10th, I believe, start camp January the 10th. And then we'll see him on Sky Sports March or April.
Any update on Bakole versus Ajagba?
I think you saw Carl Moretti's comments. It has been agreed, or it was agreed. It's waiting on date. I think it's going to happen in the UK in March. Which I'm delighted with. Like, the hard work's over with Martin, and I mean that in a way, like, why would you want to fight Martin Bakole? So we have to get him in a position, of a mandatory position, where it can be impossible to avoid. Fair enough. Efe Ajagba, the first man I know to not turn that fight down, and he's there and he's taken it, and it's exciting because the winner is one fight away from a world title crack against Daniel Dubois or Joseph Parker. Let's see. Very excited. Obviously, it's going to upset a lot of people when Martin Bakole becomes world champion, and that's why I think it's been made so hard for him. But he's worked so hard, and him and Billy Nelson deserve it. And as I say, the hard work's done now. One fight away.
Eubank Jr. versus Benn later, so it seems like both fighters are looking towards different opponents. I just wondered if that was a bit of a negotiation tactic on either side, and then they would come together. Well, you would know if it would be the case to come and make the fight. What is the latest with making that fight?
You'd think it's definitely on their side a negotiation tactic. I think, if I'm honest, I've done an unbelievable job at getting Eubank Jr. to 55%. It's not 55%. That's charitable. That's generous. That genuinely is. I can't have done anything more. Like, if it was the other way around, Eddie would be saying it's a 70-35, maybe even 80-20. So for me to have done this shows the intent, shows how much I'm trying to work with everyone, and really, if it doesn't happen, it's because of them. And the reality is, Chris, because he doesn't fuck around. He's not a promoter that really wants to make the fight. He wants me to make the Lara fight now. And that's the honest truth, because what more could... He's saying, Ben, and it's me and his team, you've convinced me to take such a hit, and they're still not jumping at it. Come on, I want to fight for a world title. So I think everyone can see. I've seen the reaction. I know how people view that fight, and I don't want to bore fans anymore, other than to say, we've done our side, and hopefully it happens.
Eddie Hearn mentioned on IFL that he had a conversation with you late at night. What was the content of the conversation? Are things a bit more jovial as opposed to fractured maybe in the past?
I think so. I think they are. Look, I think ultimately when your relationship only exists on YouTube videos, it's not going to be amazing, but ultimately, I think it's good. I think when you have to make big fights together, or you start to, and then I think things are in a good place. And but of course we're still competitors. Of course, I'm sure they'll still have a lot to say about me. I don't really care, but for the purpose of getting fights done, nothing ever blocking any boxer matchroom fights. We've discussed others. I've asked about others. There's others that are being talked about as well. So, yeah, it's definitely open to make fights, and that's really all that matters.
And a couple of quick things before you get whisked away from me. First of all, Bob Arum says he's going to sit down and talk with DAZN. It seems like all the promoters are sort of aligning to that platform. What's your thoughts on Bob Arum potentially going over from his current deal to DAZN, and maybe your place as well, if there's anything on the table from them?
That's their business. I've said before, we have a commitment to Sky Sports, and that's in the UK. That's our broadcast partner, and that's that. What Bob Arum does with his business is up to him. It'd be a shame to see ESPN go, just because they're such a powerhouse, and the way that they keep boxing in mainstream homes. Look at the numbers Mayor Sandy Ryan did. That's unbelievable for boxing. So it'd be a shame to see them go. But maybe they're looking at a hybrid and different broadcasters working together. But that'll be up to him. Arum still going at 93 years old should be the biggest story. What an absolute legend. What an absolute G. The fact that he is still talking about broadcasters. I'd be long gone. And he's still doing it, and he still cares, and he doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. Phenomenal guy.
Last thing, Whittaker said exclusively on SecondsOut that, look, I'm
I don't know why he gave it to you.
Didn't give it to me, he gave it to Radio Raheem. Good work over in Dubai, not myself. Although maybe in the future I'll get that interview with Ben Whittaker. Ben said, look, I'm going to rest, I'm going to recover. He's spoken his piece about what happened when he went over the top rope and afterwards as well. But the most important thing, he says he wants that Liam Cameron rematch next. Is it going to be next, and when is it going to be?
If again, I'm not going to be held to ransom. If they're sensible, it will happen next. We want to make the fight. Ben wants to make the fight. The main thing is he'll be back. We've got a date. I'm excited. I think he's had like a career worth of experience in 1 year. We had a prospect in January with 200,000 followers that people sort of knew, that wasn't really active. And it's December now, and he's one of the most recognised sports figures in Britain. And he's had the highest of highs, and he has had the lowest of lows. And there's been mistakes, and there's been successes. And it's all happened in 1 year. And he's got his head screwed on now. I'm happy with where he's at. I'm happy with where his mental state's at. I'm happy with the fact that he's experienced how cruel this sport can be if you don't get it perfect. And it's going to stand him in great stead. And what a career I believe we're going to have.
Ben, pleasure. Looking forward to the fight. Cheers.